Passing through the gates where we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear of that toxic cell. The bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates where we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic cell. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates where we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic cell. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates where we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic cell. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. What up, what up? Bienvenido. What's going on? What up, my boyka? And welcome again. I am going to, let me just put this up a little bit. I'm going to continue on. I'm going to continue on with the Root Energy Center. And you look at the description, you click on those of the YouTubes, some very powerful songs, man. Deal with the idea of family because we're gonna kind of like unpack a little bit what family structure is. I'm gonna keep reading from the course. It's been a little problem getting to the actual courses, but let me bring something up here. So before I get started, I'm gonna do the chant. Let me do that first. Let me get to the chant. And before we do the let me get to the chant first. Okay. Should I share my screen? Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen so everyone to get used to what we do here. Just 1 second. Close that door, lock it. And so my grandson just came from football and is saying that he won the playoff. Hey, good for him. Lock the door because the baby's gonna get in here. Okay, so thank you. Let me share my screen here. I'm hoping you can hear me. Get this thing a little closer. Yeah. My day just started. Got these kids home and stuff. And here we at. Let me see, where are we? Here we at. Here we go. And here we go. And I don't need to do it like that. Just get it like this. So actually, I just get it like this. You see that? Nah. Let me Mac this. Yeah, let me do this instead. Because I can read it all straight through. Yes. Perfect. Working out the details here, folks. Let me make sure that this is showing up on my Facebook and everything is showing up good. Let me monitor it. Again, I'm simultaneously broadcasting on Facebook, Silos Conga, my LinkedIn, Silos Conga, and my YouTube. And then I'm going to also share this with the African Kingdom Federation if that's permissible. So let's see. I'm here. Just 1 second, get into the chant. Just want to make sure that I got everything here. And everything seems to be doing good. Rahubat. Salime Rahubal Zakala Tumrei. Amidi Hakim. Salim. Okay, man. Hey. Ashuk and Qabat. Peace. So again, let's do the chant. Patak Yud. Anukai Jawif Pa Ashuk Impa Paut. I am in the divine love of the all expanding. Wukali Ashukawun Jawif Niya. And all divine love is in me. Anukai Kwasaum Impa Paut. I am part of the all expanding. Wopa paot kawun kwasaum iminiya. And the all expanding is part of me. Anukai wahu am pa paot. I am one as the all expanding. Wopa paot kawun wahu am niya. And the all expanding is one as me. Excuse me 1 second. Excuse me 1 second. Oh, Lord. I gave some instructions here, and they just didn't pay attention to me. Just give me 1 second. Sorry, I have a 2-year-old, and I just can't have her running around because then I can't watch her. You know what I'm saying? I can't monitor her the proper way. Let me get back to this here. And as we, okay, nukuk kwadur na ju ame kwasaumim pa paut. I can succeed as part of the all expanding. Wo habub ame mushrash and fail as an individual person. Nukuk wador kawan kalif pafif. Nakuk dayur jawif pa paut. I can be all that I want in the all expanding. Wasa dayarni kawun lake bakoi jawif pa paut. As long as my one is to stay in the all expanding. Anukai yabit by na fashni. I'm never by myself. Pa paut kawun anukai. I'm the all expanding is I am. Pa paut kwadur nakuk kwadur. And the all expanding I can. Pa paut amul nakuk amul. And the all expanding does, and I'll do. Laha hum manahnu. From them, from us. Amti hum atir karir hum. They are with them. Amti hum atir karir kum. They are with you all. Amti hum atir karirnu. They are with us. Amti hum atir jawifniya. They are inside me. Amti hum atir niyawan kai hum. They are me and I am them. Yayi ashuk reye. O divine loving ray. Ashmuh jayahnu. Listen at us. Yayi nataru afuknu. And the overseer accept us. Overseers. Anu atir muhrarukum. We are you all's children. Yayi nataru afuknu. Overseers accept us. Afuknu. Accept us. Yayin arunun. Oh, our overseers. Anun, atun, amun. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. And stop sharing my screen. To start, I'd just like to get ready to do certain things here. Let's hear something. Oh boy. O guardians, Ya Nataru, O heavenly ones, those Razikin, Razak, the inhibitors of Sirius and Orion, right? the guardians of the skies, providers of the planets, mothers and fathers of the Homo sapiens. O guardian, O Nebu, descend into me or descend into us and around us. Guide us in all we do. Make us in your own image and after your own likeness. Help us that we may help all Homo sapiens, humanity. Let me speak from your head and not from my own, and let me care from your heart, not from my heart. Right? Just wanted to put that out there. So let's get started. Okay? Let's get started. Salim El Rahuba. Rahuba at Salim El. I do have the information you asked me for, so you can get to those 19 courses. I'll furbish that in a little bit. And we're going to bring that up also. I'm going to bring it up here. So we're talking about the root energy center, right? Jazhar, right? Áazub, Qabat. And we're talking about stability. It represents the Z, jet, right? Here it is. The Z is the backbone, stability, right? In Kemetic science, Z. So remember, that's the purpose of a Z festival. To again have the stability. It deals also with fertility, stability, and it deals with family, right? Because that's the backbone, that's the stability, again, of this root energy center. The stability, right? Deals with family again and tribes. Families make up tribes, those communities. And so to strengthen that, right, we deal with, in the 19 courses, the skill and the technology that we deal with. We're dealing with marriage. We're dealing with economics, very important. Like I said, you show me a family that's well economically stable, then the family becomes stronger. That is what we call growth, right? But let's look into growth. And I want to bring the I want to bring in the read from you from, let me take this off, from the sacred wisdom of the Grand Hierophant, Tahuti. And we're talking about growth, right? Is shocking. Okay, these the change in the Sabiic language, and I should have looked it up in the Sabiic language. I don't know everything, but anyway, growth. Now, this is the principle, the doctrine of growth, right? And I just wanted to present you with this, you know what I'm saying? Because now we're going into a technology, we're going into a science, right? And we're looking at this science, these skills, but we need to have a consciousness so that we become conscientious of when we're dealing with the word of growth, right? Gaduth, right? In Nuwapi, it will be Gaduth, right? Growth is a manifestation of size alternating from one point in time and space to another, right? Manifestation, alternate. Creation is a manifestation of beginning and onto a specific designated point as found in the seed of the thought that initiates the idea of creation. All forms of growth, creation, are no more than a change in that which is apparent, in which either direction the onlooker perceives. So this is growth, right? Unpack it a little bit. You're dealing with a manifestation. What is manifestation? Vocalization plus visualization equal manifestation. Things manifest, right? Alternating from one point in time and space to another, because the formless becoming form, right? That's just explaining, that's just getting into the creation and how things grow in this form. So creation, the manifestation of the beginning and onto a specific designated point and found in the seed, right? Initiated the idea of the creation. How do we tie this into, for instance, growing and growth in marriage, right? In the family structure, okay? Well, ideas, remember creating. And and I'm going to read it again, a little, the introduction when we spoke about postulating and constantly recreating and growing when it comes to family, and actually practicing that, you know what I'm saying? There has to be growth there. There has to be both in economic and family structures, right? The procreate is growth in families, on and on and on from the point on. You create your family structure. You create your family structure to create a tribes of families coming together, right? To form a common unity, what's called a community, right? Common unity. And so the doctrine must make you realize that all things that exist on the physical plane were created and are created themselves out of a pre-existing matter and energy. Okay? This is just going to the idea of growth, right? And what it means. And the root reality of creation is that the very word itself merely means to grow. Grow. The creating, right? As habits grow, thoughts grow, knowledge grow, illness grow, bacteria grow, the mind grow, but through information channeled from an etheric core, from the mental, the reservoir of intellect, and the source for which the mind is fed intellect. Okay? So when you deal with creation, creating your family, there is a reservoir of ideas and concepts that you can draw from. All right? We have to condition our minds. We can manifest things when we draw certain things in this reservoir of ideas and concepts that are there, that deals also with stability and growth. These are realities, substantial reality, material reality. The universe is a phenomenon of life that grow into existence, right? So when you attune yourself to natural nature, you grow, and you get to also postulate that, and you get to also create that environment and and communicate, right? A common unification, create that reality with your family, with those that you consider your family, right? And you create this, you drawing on these ideas and concepts. That's that communication that is speaking about in the 19 courses. You know what I'm saying? You have to sit down, the ideas. Now, when you deal with marriage, now you have to open up the line of communication between two parents, between two beings. And then you have in the mindset like, okay, we are creating a family here. But creation, again, remember, growth comes from that which is unseen to the seen, right? So in the unseen, you have reservoirs of ideas and concepts. So you have to draw from that. These ideas, this reservoir of skills and technology when it deals with marriage and deals with family, right? Nothing in existence can decreate or degrow, right? You can tip the balance of it. Remember, if it's not growing economically, you're tipping the balance, but there's still growth there, right? Because it's growing at a decay, like decay is growth, right? Death is a certain type of growth, but it's a different trajectory, is moving differently, right? Just to get into a little of the philosophy. Or even decline from existence. So there's such thing. It's not declining, right? it is just heading in a different, you have to look at it as heading in a different manifestation, a different location, right? They are here because they're supposed to be here by virtue of the fact that they're existing here. So also the spark that you call the power of God responsible for creation grew in the darkness. But this is just getting into this philosophy. And it's good to know this because this is communicating with your family, right? And letting them know how growth is. And again, you have to define and explain so that you can possibly create the importance of how family should grow and how important it is. Okay. Okay. We're going to stop it right there. When I go into the 19 courses, I don't know, I'm having a little strange thing happening here with the computer. Towel hat. You're welcome. Awful. And so, let me bring this up over here. Give me 1 second. I did have all of this. I have all this thing going on. So, oh, wait a minute. I'm trying to bring it up. We've changed a lot of things in the African Kingdom Federation because no longer, okay, sorry. No longer are we going to, of course, overview. I'm sorry. Here we go. Ooh, okay. So we had spoken about, let me bring it up. Here, let me share it with you guys here. Everything's changed because no longer are, people, and I'm just going to say this real quickly, is that, we're restructuring everything again because of the third party, like Scientology third party. We're going now to look from within and create our doctrine, but we use other doctrine, of the awareness, right? Consciousness and conscientiousness of other doctrine in order to create those doctrines we have. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So we've done this before, right? Let me see. My screen did it? Okay. Okay, so remember, that marriage is what family is built on. It's the foundation. We've spoken about this before, and in society at this time, a family is the group that cares for each other, protects itself, and able to carry itself into the future. Right? We've spoken about this. Right? Let me go back. Let's look at, let me see if you're able to see this. I might have to share my screen again when I switch over. Oh, no, I think it's happening. Oh, there you go. Breaking agreements. Now, again, we're looking at the skills and the technology of family and marriage, right? As taught by, these 19 life skills and how important it is. So breaking agreements, right? Whenever people get together to work as a group, they make agreements. You know what I'm saying? They make agreements, whether actually stated or not, regarding what is right or what is wrong. In other words, what will help the group survival, that urge to survive, that family, that love of family. Remember the 12 forms of love and we study in Wu Sabat, the 12 forms of love, and what will be destructive to his survival, right? So we have to be conscious of this, right? This is called moral code, morals and ethics, moral codes. a set of agreement that each person has decided to follow to ensure that the group survives. So in order for your family to survive, right? In order for this stability to happen in this root energy center, right? The stability to happen, there has to be agreements, right? There has to be moral codes, because that ensures that the group is going to survive, that the family is going to survive. So you have to set these moral codes. The size of the group doesn't matter whether it's two people forming a marriage or a whole country being formed, right? Remember, families and tribes, and this also for tribe, this is dealing with stability and also in culture. The group members enter into certain agreements, tribal agreements, family agreements, right? The group members, the breaking of one of these agreements is commonly known as a transgression. Transgression, trespassing, transgression. When one partner in a relationship or marriage breaks the agreed upon moral code, he often feels that he cannot tell the other person about it. So they keep that quiet. But these transgressions can gradually build up and cause a breakdown in a relationship. Right? They're living with certain secrets because they trespass, they transgress a certain moral codes, a certain bond, right? And it even happens within families, in the family structure. This can cause a transgression, instability. Now, in the Scientology, in that particular doctrine, the word used for harmful act of transgression against moral code of a group, they call that an overt. Overt. That's the vernacular that they use, the vocabulary that they use. So an overt, right, or a transgression is either something that you did that you shouldn't have done, or something you didn't do that you should have done, according to the moral code. See, there comes to an agreement that, hey, listen, we're a marriage again. These are contracts. This deals with a lot of economics, business. You know what I'm saying? You have a certain responsibility in that family structure. And if you don't do that and live up to your responsibility, a lot of times I have to do with economics, what happens to the family structure? And when you have this broken family structure, you have broken communities. You know what I'm saying? Because again, those responsibilities are not there anymore. So, and let's use this as an example. Take a husband who makes an agreement with his wife that he will meet her at a restaurant that night for their wedding anniversary, right? A simple agreement, right? Later that day, his friend asks him to go to a movie and he decides to go there instead. Broke the agreement. He doesn't show up to meet his wife or even phone her to let her know that so she ends up eating alone, and that will be an overt act, a transgression. See, that's just an example. So in a family structure, we know that there's certain morals and codes that deals with family, because we want, you're in the fiance moment, right? The fiance moment. But then what happens when you do the marriage and you contract each other and you get into this marriage contract, right? And you merge both businesses, or you merge both corporal together, right? And then the other person, they think that things runs automatically, and they don't postulate, they don't keep creating an economic stability. So that's what happens to a lot of relationships, falls apart. The core of it has a lot to do with economics. And it don't necessarily have to do with money. It can be also currency. It can be also the environment. Hey, you say, once we get together, we are fighting for money, you was going to take me out of this neighborhood. But this neighborhood is not where I want to raise my child. But then what happens? You break that agreement, that verbal agreement, or that agreement, that responsibility to each other, that next thing you know, the institution falls apart. the family falls apart or that relationship falls apart because you did not. I thought we had an agreement. A lot of times this has to be spoken out. Sit down again, have these conversations, right? You're having these conversations to establish that reality, this common unification to establish that reality. So therefore, you can go out into the world with a high sense of affinity. And we'll speak about that when we deal with the science of communication. When a person commits or does an avert against someone, he often feels he can't tell that person about it. And it is for fear of what might happen. You see, so in the root energy center, that's one of the blockages, fear. It could become a blockage. So now you don't have in the root, your stability, it's weakened. It's weakened. You show me a person that has responsibility, right? And his word is bond, stay to his word, and does responsibility, you see a family stability in it. A stronger Z backbone. You see it strong. And that's what's called a withhold in terms of Scientology. So the overt, when a person does not, for fear of communicating that, for fear and it blocks it, then it's called a withhold. That's an overt act that a person has committed that he isn't talking about. It's a lot of that going around, let me tell you. Secrets in the closet. Any withhold comes after an overt. People withhold things. They withhold certain knowledge of things. The best scenario is, listen, if you're going to have an agreement with somebody, try, live up to your agreement, your responsibility, so that you don't have a transgressed, you don't transgress against it and against that person. Because when you do, and then you fearful of it, let's say you come out and you tell, and you say what you did, you still did the avert act. Sometimes it can limit the amount of, again, the withhold can be eliminated, but the avert is there, the transgression is there. You're not going to be, the truth is, and not about trust, because I don't believe in that trust thing, but the truth is that you're not stable. An unstable person can't live with certain responsibility agreements. In the beginning, is it okay when they talk about this facade of I love you and this and this and that, and you get together, then all of a sudden it turns out the dude is a bum, although she's a bum. No responsibility, no stability. This has to be changed in our community. This has to be changed in our family structure. This is what's called Z, the backbone. Very important. You have to be, in order to achieve that stability, that stronghold, that stability, you got to live up to your word. You got to live up to your responsibility. Simple. And this is where it comes from. That root energy center, right? That can be blocked. The shadow is the fear. So a lot of times you have to do shadow work. You have to face your fears in order to correct and gain that stability again so that you can renew things. You get it? Renewal. Because this is the center of renewal. In order to renew something, right? It deals a lot with stability. It deals with a lot with the shadow work that you have to do. And you have to limit that amount of shadow. A marriage that has broken down to the point where the partners were separated from each other because of an avert and withhold is almost impossible to put back together, simply by postulating it into existence. After people are separated from each other, they have to unseparate themselves. You know what I'm saying? They have to in some way get back into communication and get back to creating their marriage. But how do they do that? All right, I messed up. You messed up. How do we, again, being conscientious of this structure, going into this reservoir of morals and ethics, of family morals and ethics, going back in there and extracting this and manifesting that. That's being on top of your game in terms of family. And that's creation. You know what I'm saying? Some people may think marriage is like something they read in a storybook or saw in a movie. That's why I'm telling you have to be very careful with the that's why don't let movies and stories and other culture dictate to you of how you should conduct your family. Because culture is very important, but the structure has to be there. Structure has to be there, which I'm going to read you a little bit of the Sabaean revelations about this family structure. They may think that on a beautiful summer day, they will meet this handsome man or this beautiful girl. Then they come together and say, I do until death do us part. And they think that they have made a marriage just by saying that. But actually, they have not even started yet. It's not all about just that. Yeah, those are the verbiage of contract, and you deal with the church and stuff like that. But that's not it. There's much more to family structure. There's more, and that's stability, right? To be strong, stability. That's strengthening your root energy center, your Jazhar, Áazub, Qabat. So you may think that marriage has a lot to do with relationships. It doesn't. It has mostly to do with things such as makeup and razor blades. It has mostly to do with things such as makeup, razor blade, and clothing, and the car and the house that they have to share together. They have to learn to live with each other, for and by each other, if they can. Okay? It's the respect, again, that deals with the dynamic of existence, respect for physical things and other people's physical things. And not being antisocial, because antisocial people does not have any respect for your personal things and don't know how to share those personal things. It has a lot to do with that. It has a lot to do with sharing that bathroom and having, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, the razor blade. Those things are very crucial. We cannot forget them. Because you learn to live with each other. To some degree, they have wiped out or removed by the act of getting married what they were doing before. You know what I'm saying? Always before, they're careful. When they get married, sets in. Again, remember, people think that it's just supposed to happen automatically, but you have to constantly, again, remind yourself and constantly be on your guard and overstand. Stand to reason that these little things, man, can cause an avert, can cause a person to commit an avert. You know what I'm saying? Commit an avert. They make this agreement and they have to start from there. It's what happens from there on out that matters. Okay. But sometimes things that they have done before, which they are violently with greater force withholding from each other. Sometimes there's baggage and past, you know what I'm saying? Don't even let the marriage get started, and 48 hours later, the marriage is heading for ruin and disaster. Again, that is very crucial. You think you know the person, and then you start finding out so many things about this person. That's why again, family structure is so important. And again, these Z festivals and the child, and not arranged marriages, but it's a tribal thing that has to take place. We've lost that. It's a tribal thing. It's a cultural thing. Marriage is a cultural thing. And then we have lost the ability, the capability of, again, nurturing that to create that stability. And that's the reason why, the community is falling apart. And you say to yourself, man, why is it that I'm in a certain community or certain tribes falling apart? Because the family structure, the stability has been broken. And when you look deep into it, you get to see these things in it, these little things in it. Something very simple, you know what I'm saying, happen. Oh, you disrespect me here. That very simple, something. But marriages can be saved if marriages can be saved, if they're willing to, that's why in applied science you have what they call sociologists, psychiatrists, and marriage counselors, and so on, so and so, who study this, and able, if it gets to that point, you know what I'm saying? So this is another applied science, another applied science. That is another applied science that exists. So, sociology, psychiatry, and things of that sort. What's up, cuz, Medi? Okay. In a marriage that has gone on for a few years, overt acts and withhold can build up until the partners grow apart. People grow apart because there's so many withholds, so much overt, you know what I'm saying? They withhold a lot of information to the person and let them know, hey, listen, this and this and that, and oh, by the way, I got a couple of kids after many years of marriage. Oh, by the way, I fathered some other kids with this other woman that I just happened. Oh, you telling me now? So you withhold this from me when we got married? You knew this when we went at the altar, but you decided to tell me later on in years. Because somebody now is knocking on your door, Daddy. Oh, you know what I'm saying? You withhold that. You broke an agreement. You broke that agreement. That is the cause and effect. Those are the causes of that effect of marriages growing apart, relationships and stuff growing apart, and family structures being dismantled. So the tribes become dismantled, the communities, and that's a problem in humanity. Raise up children in a traumatic environment. And so it's a cycle that keeps going on and on and on. So again, we pay attention to this root energy center when it deals with family, it deals with stability. Because when you're really stable, then you have the capability of renewing things and working with that. And this is the core of, again, family, tribe, and culture. And this is survival. Your very survival depends on that. This is echo, habitat, and environment. When you look up the word echo, means habitat and environment. When the habitat, the way you habitat, this habitual self, the human habitual self, is unstable. It creates a problem. And so we have to repair that within our communities, in our families. That's how family grow apart. Overt acts, people disrespecting because they trespassing the responsibility of being, a certain overt acts, and then they withhold that. This it's like an avalanche. It grows, because growth, again, it's going to happen automatically. Things grow automatically. So you got to understand that from the nature point of view, that how growth is. And this energy center deals with, again, remember, creation, death, and rebirth. Birth, death, and rebirth. This the process of renewal. So you have to constantly renew your family, and knowing that you can, you have to put in the work. You have to take them. You have to again, create again habitats, environment, those moral codes, and tell your family, look, this is what's going on. This stability. You can have a family, and then your family is broken, right? There's no stability, there's no place to live because you didn't live up to your responsibility. There's those agreement, responsibility, and it's all broken. But then how do you repair that? Well, you renew that. You're giving an opportunity to show your family now that you're able to create again, you're conscientious. You're conscientious, and you're now creating a stability with yourself. You're becoming responsible. That instead of me going out there creating a secret act, or taking the money, going to the casino, or doing this and that, I need to pay. My responsibility is to pay the bills. Our responsibility is to pay the bills so we can have a place to stay, get certain, so we don't, you know what I'm saying? That's the stability. When this is not happening, then your root, and speaking in that term, your root energy centers are balanced. Your stability, you're not stable. You're unstable. There's a lot of men out here living on an unstable, making children, and they're unstable themselves. You know what I'm saying? So the children becomes, again, in the mercy of grandparents, or the mercy of social services. Child are taken away. You know, there's a lot of families like that become homeless because those responsibilities are not there. You know, not the ones that because of illness or something. You know what I'm saying? But the ones that put themselves in that position because, again, I'd rather, instead of paying this bill, paying my rent, let's go party, let's do this, let's do that. Those avert, those you trespasses, that responsibility that you had towards building a family. And then when you build a family and the stability of that family, you become part of a tribe. And then you have to work on the tribal stability. Can't have broken families in a tribal setting, because then everything gets all out of balance. You got to have stable families, and then marry within families again. And I've spoken about that. Marrying, knowing the families that your family is marrying into that family, and knowing that you come from a stable family, you want to make sure that that family is stable, and have the certain skills and technology to, again, renew and to create that stability, that family structure, so we can build this tribe and this community and humanity. You see the picture? I know you. I know we can connect those dots. You see those dots, and how you're connecting those dots, and how important that is. In this case, okay. If this is the case at the end of 3 years, how bad do you think it will be at the end of 10 years? Right? By that time, many couples have just learned to pull up with each other, and they are both in what they call propitiation, a state of trying to keep each other calm and reduce the anger of each other. They are somehow getting along and would rather have it that way than some other way. They would rather be married than not. They think they're making it okay. And they don't think too much anymore about the girl or the guy that they used to think that they should have married instead. Their marriage is going along somehow. You got married along somehow. I heard also that a lot of marriages, there's always the one person that drinks a lot and the other person puts up with it. Again, they think that it's just getting along, okay? They come complicit to that and getting along. In that relationship, especially in Scientology, can make a shocking and surprising change. We can clear up the marriage. When you see that they're willing to do that and they're willing to, right, you can clear up the marriage somehow. You can work with it. And again, this is applied science. People pay a lot of money to go to counselors for this. A lot of money to go to these family counselors and marriage counselors, psychologists and psychiatrists, psychologists. you know, because all the psychology is doing is making you aware of things, of those overt acts, making you aware of if there's any withholds, and trying to get that communication thing going. So they do. If you can't do it with yourself, then you have to get the third party to do that, and that is a psychologist, a marriage counselor, something like that. But as you learn these 19 courses, right, and get your certificate, you also become a counselor because now you're able to see things and help people and to make them realize certain things. And you come and you say, hey, listen, check out this course and see if this makes sense to you and how. And so then how do which we're going to do the next podcast is going to be finance. How do we stabilize our economics and our finance? So there's certain things that you can do to stabilize your family structure when it comes to financial, for keeping records, okay, bookkeeping, knowing that, and it's good to teach somebody, either you or your wife, go into bookkeeping. Usually it's the woman that sits down and she starts doing bookkeeping. Not that what they call guerrilla bookkeeping, or that shifting things here and there so we can go do this and this and that. No, not that type of that. What they call that? I don't know. But yeah, divorce and separation come about simply because there are too many overts, right? And withholds between the marital partners. It's as simple as that. So when you go to a marriage counselor, or you go to somebody that's counseling your your relationship there, they want to bring out those averts. They're going to bring out those averts and those withholds. You see this all the time. They're going to bring that out. This is psychology. This is a skill in technology of science. Very, very important. And this, as we learn about this, and we're able to apply this to ourselves and our family, we're able to counsel our family, counsel our tribe, when there's this little conflict, That's why it's important. These life skills are so important, because now we're able to go out there and see things, and people see that, and hey, and you're able to, again, bring some type of awareness to certain things, Again, it's good to have a professional, trained person, saying, because when they train to be a psychologist and marriage counselor, they do what they call lab work, and they do apprentice work, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of times you see students in that when you go, because I used to go to, I went to UCF when I used to go to counseling in UCF. And a lot of times it was students who was doing the counseling because they were sociologists major, but for the lab work. You know what I'm saying? And then of course you have somebody, and so in terms of tribes and family and tribal and culture, we have 24 elders, that is important for them to also learn these skills and techniques and these skills. Okay. It's very important. So we borrow from here, we borrow from there, and we put it into a curriculum. We put it into an awareness. We put it in, so that we can, again, do the work. If you ever try to help clean up a marriage between a couple, you will find that they may decide that it's all over and there's no reason to go on with it because one couldn't possibly. The thing that saves the day each time is to get each person to remember what he himself or she herself did. You got to get the person to, again, to remember what you did, and she remember what she did. Right? If the two marriage partners just keep that thought firmly in the mind and disclose all their averts and withhold to each other, any marriage can be saved. Any marriage can be saved. There's going to be some pain. There's going to be some hurt. Let me tell you. Pleasure is offset by pain. You thinking you had pleasure when you did this and this and that, it's going to be offset by pain. But you got to be willing to, those trials and tribulations, you got to be able to go through it. in order to ascend to a level of, again, protecting your family. Protecting your family, at the same time creating the stability and strong family structure so that your tribe becomes strong. And once your tribe, your community, you know what I'm saying, your nation, strong nation. This is important. We learn these courses because, again, we are setting a new civilization. We are a nation. We are a kingdom, the kingdom of the South, the Queen of Sheba, the African kingdoms of the South. So these are nations being built. So we have to go into these villages. We have to go into these, you know what I'm saying? We're doing it online right now. But imagine going to these villages and dealing with issues like this. You're looking and you're seeing that this community, this nation is broken. Well, let's look at the core of it, the root. Jazhar, let's look at the Jazhar of it. The Jazhar, Áazub, that energy, the root energy. Let's go to the root of the problem, which, again, it's your stability. It's the backbone. It's the root. It's the backbone. And so you have to strengthen that with certain skills and techniques. And that's what we do. That's the purpose of these podcasts. Is I'm venturing in this, learning. Because when you get to it, again, even if you're in the not only in the United Nations level, humanitarian level, and then you go in and you go into communities, go into villages and communities, and you know what I'm saying, and you look at what can I fix in these communities? What can I fix around me? Or even if in your and for yourself in your house, what can I fix in my family? Sometimes there's people that don't even want to sit down and again discuss and communicate any of the overts. They don't want to reveal any of the overts. But you know about it, you know what I'm saying? But just to get the person to speak about it, you can repair any marriage and therefore repairing a family structure. It can be done. It can be done. Well, I'm at the hour mark. I like to just keep these about an hour because I know the retention level of certain people, and I just want to make sure that you know what I'm saying, I cover certain things. Man, my eyes are and stuff. I wanted to cover certain things, you know what I'm saying, in terms of marriage. This is important, man, when you educate your children, the youth, then so they don't become enslaved to these antisocial characteristics. They don't become conquered because now they have that stability. They have that sense of stability, that rooted. They're well rooted. You know what I'm saying? They're well rooted. And it's important to have these discussions with your youth. You know what I'm saying? So they become aware, conscious of this. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you begin to repair things around you in the habitat and the environment. It's again with the youth. But then you yourself, you have to be honest with yourself, right? And you got to do the shadow work. You got to look at the fears. You got to look at certain fears. And you gotta face those fears. And then when you face those fears, then you gotta live with the consequences. And then again, when you're armed with the skill and technique, where you're able to speak to the other person, right, your mate, and let them know, hey, listen, this was the past. I messed up. I revealed this stuff to you, but this is why I want to go forward, because I feel that family structure for the tribe. It's important for the tribe. It's important for our community. You know what I'm saying? Especially our family. It's important for our community, our nation. This is important. You have to, again, be conscientious of those dynamic of existence and those 12 forms of love, the love of nation. Habub, of your nation and your tribe. Sha'ab. Sha'ab. Tribe. Right? This is a natural nature capability that we have, that we inherited from the Nataru, the forces of nature. We inherited this. And from the Rizikin of those providers, we inherited this. It's just that, again, we got certain jewels and sometimes we trample upon it. We don't realize it's there. So, the life skills help me realize certain things in my life, you know what I'm saying? And knowing that working with this center, the root energy center, I can renew my life, my family life. I could renew things around, I could renew my tribal life. I could renew my nation and all humanity. What is that? Oh, So again, so when you get to know this, right? Study it, listen to it, study it, and listen to it, right? And then if you need to do work in the household, you do the work. You do the work. And if you're single, you don't have anybody, then with the children, make sure, and you have children, grandchildren, whatever, make sure that they know these things so that as to prepare them for the future. And then if you enter into a relationship, communicate this in your new relationship so that you'll become to a reality. Hey, listen, this is the way I get down. This is an agreement. This is a moral code. This is the way I'm getting down. I'm no longer that person and I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always like this. There was a lot of things that I had to learn and a lot of mistakes I made along the way. But I don't want to pass on my mistakes, man, to my youth, my young ones. I don't want to transfer those mistakes. I've done that. We unknowingly transfer certain of our habits, our characteristics to our children. And when we see them, their life apart, it hurts us. And we see their life getting like this. But now, like I said, you can repair this in a family structure. You know what I'm saying? We can repair this. If your child, your daughter, or your son is in a relationship and you see that this relationship ain't gonna work. This relationship, I don't agree with certain things that this person is doing. We need to speak about it, right? Don't be afraid to speak about it. We need to sit down. We need to have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Again, in today's day and time. But that's why it's so important for family to have that. Once we get to the point where our family have a stability, a strong sense of stability, and then we meet other families and we understand that this is a tribal thing. Which reminds me, I got to get out to the Parar. I want to start doing classes for the tribe, Sabiic tribe. I want to start doing some classes like this that deals with this technology, marriage counseling, and technology. Because once you are 24 elder, and I'm a council of 9, which is morals and ethic appropriation committee with the council of 9. But then the 24 elders, this is important for them to know. And when you look at actual facts and you look at some of the Pataruk Awe, you see a lot of this in there, right? Because it's our way. You see a lot of it in there. You just have to you have to pick it, you have to resonate, and you have to move toward it. You have to actually have the skills to take that Pataruk and make it a reality. Take the Pataruk and those actual facts, make it a reality in your tribe, in your nation. Whatever tribe or nation you belong to, or whatever community you belong to, make it a reality. So you see, in this new civilization, we've learned from the past civilizations. And so we learned, so now it's about renewing ourselves. Renew, And if you look at Papa Nabayanan, and this is what he did. He taught us about family structures, and you see families meeting families, and you see, you know what I'm saying? But somewhere along the line, that's been broken. The community has been broken because, again, those recognizing with the enlightening course, you recognize antisocial characteristics, and you stop it on its track. In yourself, you don't point the finger at nobody and say, you're antisocial. in yourself and just push away those and says, listen, we don't get down like that over here. Again, reading here, if you have any problems, take it to the 24 elders, but they should be at the point. Each is born what they grow to be, to become. It is not role playing, right? It is natural nature, what they call fatar al fatar. Natural natures work, and they have a right of choice. I'm looking for the one for the 24 elders. So again, the root of it, and remember, in the Revelation to the Zabi in 485, do protect your tribe, Sha'ab, and your Musar, your family, from the spell of genocide, mental and physical. Genocide, mental and physical. The mental is a step to the spiritual. That's where it starts, the mental, the spiritual. And there's also the mental down to the physical. You have to protect your tribe by, again, and the way you protect it by having a stability within yourself. You know, that protection. Arming yourself with those skills and those techniques. Arming yourself with those skills and techniques so that you can become, again, postulate and also become a manifestation of life itself that wants to grow, social. Life that wants to grow. Everything wants to grow. Even death is a growth. Death is a reverse burning. Death is a growth in another way. We come from the unseen to the seen to the unseen. You know what I'm saying? And it's recreating. It's a rebirth. And that's, again, when you are aware of this, it creates that stability. Well, it looks like that I must have scared people out of here. Just kidding. And I'm just gonna leave it there. Okay, that's it. And for the next one, I'm gonna go deep. I'm gonna go like, so looking at finance, a fiance, and they're at that level. You know what I'm saying? It's important, and learning certain skills at that time of your fiance's, the finance, and what are skills in finance, like bookkeeping, you know what I'm saying, analytical statistics. Statistic is one, very, very good. There in the life courses cover a lot of this. Let me show you. The life courses cover a lot of this. Let's look at some of these life courses and see. Let me see. Just as you know. Okay. Just to give you a little before I end it here. Let me give you a little bit of this. Okay. So these are the online courses, and this is where a lot of the content that I'm beginning to, expand, expanding on. So how to resolve conflicts, the dynamic of existence, again. And again, when you deal with the dynamic of existence, you're dealing with, 12 forms of loves and so on, so the components of understanding. You understand to gain an overstanding, to stand to reason. Okay, you hear Panabayan and use that a lot. So I expand a lot of these courses. Solution for dangerous environment. Okay. Assist for illness and injury. Integrity and honesty. We went over marriage. The emotional tone scale. Now, all these courses, they interlock with each other. Okay? Because in dealing with marriages and dealing with counseling, you're dealing with marriage counseling or whatever, there's so many emotion. You have to read emotional tone scales. You got to see where that's at. Answer to drugs, children, right? Tools for the workplace, ethics and conditions, morals and ethics and conditions, the cause of suppression, investigation, the basics of organizing, fundamentals of public relations, targets and goals, the technology of study and communication. Okay? So these are how to stay well prevention. Okay? And this is, again, Christian Science or Scientology, whatever. But again, we draw. Because remember, like I tell people, L. Ron Hubbard spent a lot of time in Egypt. Okay? Christianity drew a lot from ancient Kemet and Sumer. Okay? Drew a lot in the Nile Valley. Most of all the religions drew from the Nile Valley, what they call the Ma Federation. We'll go into that another day with the Ma Federation, Fish Federation, and on the 7 houses, how the Queen of Sheba, the third, Kasambura, sits as the 7th throne of the 7 houses. Saba, Sebe, or Saba means 7. 7 houses and 7 thrones that spread out. Spread out. You know what I'm saying? And so when you see this spreading out and a lot of doctrines came out of a lot of these cultures and doctrines and so on. So in today's day and time, cosmology is another science that I've gotten into, is a Christian science, cosmology. So you got a lot of people out there that are Christians, but they don't know that there's a Christian science, skills and techniques and science, hermetic, and it's based upon hermetic principles, which is the sacred wisdom of Tahuti. Tahuti, Hermes, Tahuti, right? And you see this hermetic principles, hermetic principles, when you study Christian science and you study a lot of physicists that became metaphysicists, deal with heretic science, which is the wisdom of Tahuti, the science of Tahuti. See? And so they drew from this. And so we now connect back into the source. So they created doctrine and dogma, but now we go back to connect to the source. You do shadow work and you go back to the source. See? But we'll get into that when we get into the Star Energy Center. Right now, in the root, family structure. So you got Christian family morals, Israelites family morals that they learn from the Torah, or from Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. You have many different sources of morals and ethics and many, many doctrines out there, right? And a lot of these doctrines, again, remember, coming from Hermetic sciences, Hermes, Tahuti, who was, again, from the Nile Valley. And so your scribes and your priests, who was also your warriors, were also your counselors, was your marriage counselor. They went to these particular priests you know what I'm saying? To, again, the stability was very strong. Yeah. And I'll do that again. The backbone, stability. You see this throughout ancient Kemet. And this is the root, the backbone, the root center. Jazhar center, right? And so this is, again, people say, well, can you read hieroglyphics? Yeah, I read the priestly hieroglyphics. I studied the way Budge broke it down. What is it? William Budge, and a lot of those scholastics. But I also know when you study noon science and you study natural nature, noon science, and you study the observance of that, and you see how these glyphs in ancient Kemet dealt with that. Because you see, they had doctrines, they had certain skills and technologies that they put into symbols as to protect. And we do it today. You know what I'm saying? You can look at a symbol of, for like the cross, a symbol of the cross. That comes with a skill of knowing what is the cross and how did the cross come about, and what's the explanation, what is the meaning behind the cross. All of that deals with natural and nature science. We call noon science. Our ancestors had time to, to look, and from our ancestors is in us. That's just genetic blueprints. Those genetic patterns are within us. So there's information there that has been accumulating information for trillions of years, 76 trillions to be correct. Years of information that you could tap on. They call it junk DNA, but it's not junk DNA. It's not junk. It's informational DNA that activated, all right, can help you transfigure and transmute your life. So that's what we're doing here. Is again genetic. This is a genetic blueprint. And genetically, we have what they call backbone. And so I'm going to, and that's it. Or no, and else I'll just keep going. Appreciate everyone. And that's it.